Hi everybody, this is video 4, and I want to talk a little bit about the main subject of this unit and then talk you through the activities you're going to engage in. So Unit 4 is the unit where we're going to sort of transition from the discussion of big picture stuff that we've been working on so far and move towards some of the more practical elements, specifically starting to create the main documents you will come out of this course with that are relevant to either applying for jobs and or applying for graduate school. So that is a resume, or in some cases a CV with a cover letter, or a statement of purpose, which is the main sort of statement of your interests and plans that you submit as part of a graduate school application. Okay, we're going to talk about both of those kinds of documents. In Unit 4, we're going to start with resumes. Whether you're applying to graduate school or applying to jobs, you'll need a resume. And the work we'll do on the resume will also be relevant to statement of purpose. So, I'm giving you a choice on which of those you want to pursue. So, it will all benefit you regardless of which of those two options you end up with. Let me go ahead and take you to Unit 4, and then we'll talk through what's in there. So I'm going to go to Content, going down to Unit 4, which is, as I said, about resumes or CVs and cover letters. Just really quickly, and I'll talk about this more during the unit and some of the stuff we talk about, a CV is basically the academic version of a resume. So for the most part, you'll be creating resumes. If you want to work on a CV, I'm also happy to give you feedback on that. It's formatted a little bit differently. It has a few things that are different than what's on a resume. But I think it's a good idea to have a resume regardless of what you're going to pursue. Okay. So what I have you doing in this unit is, of course, reading a few things. The Purdue OWL material on resumes and CVs is especially useful, I think. That's a very practical guide. But they get very specific and give you good instructions for how to pursue it. And then also the Harvard Extension has an interesting piece about resume cover letter combinations and a guide for that. So, these readings are for the most part sort of instructional, right? They're not really theorizing about resumes as much as trying to help you actually produce them. So I want you to start by reading those, and then you will apply what you've learned there to the first step in this resume statement assignment. So you may have noticed, and you can see the instructions down here in Unit 4, that I divided this resume or statement assignment into several parts. All right, so you're going to work on them in a few stages over the course of the rest of the semester and then submit the final version at the end. So the first part is what you're working on this week, right? It's due on Friday, the 20th. And that first part, part 1 of the assignment is to complete and submit the resume statement worksheet, which I'll show you in a second. There's 2 parts of it, so I want to make sure you do both parts. Again, I'll show you and you can sort of see how it's laid out. This worksheet is really about compiling and listing out all the different things you've done that may be relevant to creating a resume and or a statement of purpose. So it's like producing the pool of things that you will draw from in creating those documents. So given that, I think the best way to think about the worksheet is to put everything you can think of on there, right? Like there's no reason to edit something out at this point. Anything and everything that you've done, and I'll show you the categories in a minute, should be on the sheet. And again, not all of it may make it into the resume or statement, but it's good to do a sort of inventory, if you will, of everything you have that you might use. And then you can tailor those documents more specifically, okay? So again, part 1 is doing that worksheet. And then part 2, you'll do a draft of your documents. And then the final document will be due sort of at the end of the term, all right? So that's the plan. I want to make sure it's clear. There's one assignment folder for all of those components. I want you to think of them as steps in a process, not as totally separate assignments, but we are going to do it in pieces, okay? So in terms of part 1, the resume statement worksheet, let me show you what that looks like. So I can just go this way. So here's the folder Again, same instructions, just repeated so you can find them in wherever you look. And here's the worksheet that's attached there. Okay. So what you'll see when you open up this worksheet is there's 2 pages, right? So the first sort of page, or the first side, if you're thinking double-sided, is your work experience, and then the second side is your education, all right? So the way I've set it up is as sort of a grid, so that you can think about both the items that may be relevant to what you're going to put into your resume or statement, and also some of the qualities, characteristics, accomplishments, etc. of those items. So part of the idea here is not just having sort of one line about a degree or an accomplishment in your thesis or an internship, not just one line about a job, but really thinking about what are the things you did in that job or in that educational experience that are really relevant to what you want to do next, so that you can make clear connections for the reader about why you're a good fit for whatever it is that you may be applying for, okay? So on the work experience side, I have you listing all the stuff you've done. And please note here that work experience includes not only paid work, but volunteer work, sort of extracurriculars, anything that you have done that feels significant that isn't directly a part of your educational trajectory, okay? So any of those kinds of things you're going to list down first column. Then I want you to sort of clarify what it was you did, like what kind of job was it, was there a title, etc. What were your duties, what did you accomplish, etc. Knowledge, skills, abilities gained, and then how whatever that job was connects to what you're pursuing next, whether a job or a graduate school or whatever, okay? You can play around with the formatting, like the size of these boxes. There's nothing special about that. You can do it electronically, of course. It's just a Word doc, so it's easy for you to reformat it if that's more useful for you. It's something you can do electronically. If you work better by writing stuff down, you can always print it off and write on it, right? So the point, though, is to think about what you've done and then what the characteristics are of those things you've done that you can talk about or highlight because they're especially relevant to what you want to do, okay? So there's the work experience side, and then the other side, or the second sheet, is about your education, okay? Again, just as I said for the job part of this, I want you to try to get specific and highlight any of the details of your educational path that you think are relevant, okay? So, for example, in this first column, I say, you do want to list out your degree or any degrees you've accomplished, right? So, first of all, it's getting in the habit of understanding how to name your degree, right, formally. But I also want you to include any specific courses that you think are relevant. If you did a minor, right, or if you even didn't do a minor, but you did, 3 or 4 courses on a certain subject that you think are super relevant, so include those in this list too. So the degree is, of course, really important, but it's not the only thing that you can talk about in terms of what you did, what you learned, what you accomplished as a student. So again, kind of parallel to the job part of this, the first page, I want you to describe what you did or what the field is that you're getting a degree in or that you did coursework in. Activities, products, accomplishments. Did you do a presentation at a conference? Did you write a thesis? Did you write just a significant research paper in one of your courses, right? That's kind of on a topic that you think is connected to what you want to do. Did you do an internship of anything that you think should be highlighted in terms of, the experiences you've had. Then we're going into knowledge, skills, abilities. It's a little bit more abstract, but if you've done a ton of writing, if you learned lab skills, right? If you're, whatever the things are that you might want to note. And then the last column, of course, connecting all that to what you want to do, all right? So I think it's pretty straightforward. Again, this is just step one of producing those documents, but I hope even if you already have a resume, which I'm sure many of you do, I'm hoping that this exercise will be an opportunity to think more broadly about what you want your resume to look like, or your statement of purpose, right? And how you can best frame your experience in a way that will both be an accurate representation of all the different interesting things you've done, but will also catch the eye of, again, employers and admissions committees in graduate programs. Okay, so that is our plan for this unit. And, again, we'll spend some time working on these kind of details, and then over time turn them into a polished document that you can actually use after you complete this course and after you graduate. So good luck on the week's material, and I hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk again soon.